Hello, this is finally for me books 20. It's actually going online together with books 19 because I'd lost it and forgotten to edit and upload it. Sorry. Okay, so well, you got a double dose. This time I'm going to be talking about a lot of books, mainly in ebooks form, because I'm trying to educate myself to them, and actually I think I'm doing pretty well. Also, I'm becoming extremely critic, so maybe the first books I'm going to talk about I really didn't like. The first one that I have to trash, to be honest, is The Diviner's Tale. Came out in 2011. It's the story of this Cassandra who's obviously gifted with the power of foreseeing tragedy, mainly. Obviously, she's not easily believed by others. And the main problem I've had with this book is that even though at times the plot is trying so hard to be exciting, and there is some, not too much, suspense, the characters are way too quaint and easy to understand. There are endless and at times pointless descriptive passages, and Cassandra feels sorry for herself half of the time, and the other half she spends being confused over men the whole time. She's not enlightened, she's not empowered, she's completely uninspiring, and this is what I hated the most about this book. Next is another book that I really didn't like, and I was sorry because it's a suggestion. It's The Happiness Project, extremely popular, came out in 2009. Supposedly it's a manual on how to be happy. The first objection that I have to make is, please find a synonym for happiness, because otherwise my head is going to implode if you talk to me for I don't know how many pages of happiness and you always refer to it as happiness. I'm going to be so easily and quickly bored. You're going to lose me extremely fast. Second, this is a very popular concept, and Gretchen, is a famous writer. Very soon in the reading process, I start suspecting this is your fast track to getting rich. It's a series of practical suggestions on how to be happy. Oh, well, to achieve happiness. God forbid that we find another term for it. And to be honest, if your suggestion is having a tidy closet, going to the theatre and reading Aristotle because at times you might feel cleverer than your average human being, to be honest, this seems diminishing of Aristotle, the theatre, the closet, happiness and life altogether. Another disappointment was the 40 Rules of Love. I'm going to be gripping the iPad for this. I haven't mentioned it yet, but I use the Kindle application for iPad. I find it relaxing and efficient. I'd actually like a sound effect when the page is turning. I know it's silly, but this is what I miss the most about reading on paper. To be honest, especially when traveling and money-wise, ebooks are preferable to physical books, but I still can't let go of paper, obviously. Anyway, The 40 Rules of Love. Here's the cover. It's a magical mystical tour in the past. And even by just saying this, maybe you know why I was so disappointed, because this is one of those themes that actually resonates with my kind of imagination. Past and present Turkey mix to create this spiritual journey of enlightenment and love. It's the story of a unique friendship and the precious poetry that springs from it. There are wise little stories along the book. Their main goal is to take you closer to the divine. And this is fine, because this is the larger part of the book. The smaller is that of a woman named Ella who's proofreading a manuscript, and this manuscript obviously fascinates her to the point that she has to get in touch with the author, and so on and so on. As usual, these reviews are what these books have been for me, so it's a very personal opinion. So I have to say that to me, again, the characters are not well designed. They come through at times as annoying, condescending and patronizing. On top of it all, The language is aberrant. It's the most cliched English I've ever come across. It's religious and spiritual, no doubt about this, but to me the language was so obnoxious that I was too annoyed to let it enlighten me. This one I have in physical form is Smuts by Alan Badnett, came out this year in 2011. It's two rather short stories where, with the usual irony and wittiness, he explores the oddities of life and strangeness of language, plus the bizarre ways in which people can use sex. If anything, the characters are quaint rather than smutty. Which I think is a good thing when it comes to Christmas presents, because I don't think many would actually result offended by this book. Probably to make up for past videos where I didn't mention Neil Gaiman, I have three of Neil Gaiman's today. The first one came out in 1996, It's Neverwhere. I was asked on Formspring, what do I think of this? Here's the cover. Yay! I love the new editions. Neverwhere is actually the novelization of the television series, and plot and character-wise, not much has changed. To be honest, the novel form has probably allowed Neil Gaiman to elaborate certain elements of the story, which of course to me is a good thing. It's a brilliant story of London below that you can reach through cracks and hidden passageways. The characters are alive and moving at a good pace, but it's probably, to me, I mean, it always felt like a skipping pace. Sometimes you have these quick accelerations, and at times you feel like you're stuck in a swamp. Being Neil Gaiman, the swamp is pleasurable too. But to be honest, at times you probably wish he had elaborated some aspects even more. I can't stress this enough. I adore Neil Gaiman and his writing and his imaginative power. And as I think the latter is his strongest point, this is sheer imaginative power at its best. I don't think it's his best. The next one I need to talk about. This came out in 2007 and it's Interworld. Here's the cover. Interwed. It's the story of one Joey Harker who teams up with other Joeys from different Earths in other parallel universe to try and stop the two forces of magic and science from taking over all of the Earths in different universes. It's clever, but to be honest, I don't think it's the most original work of his, because by 2007, okay, maybe the idea had been around for a while, but everyone, Neil Gaiman included, had most likely been exposed to so much fiction involving parallel universe. I don't feel this as one of those stories only Neil Gaiman could come up with. Again, it's obviously still clever and a pleasure to read. Maybe a bit teenagey, compared to other works. If it feels like a TV plot, then it's because it was conceived as one. But in this universe, no TV executive wished to make it happen, so this is what it's going to be. Maybe, again, I'm trying to be honest, this is my least favorite. The idea has potential, but especially character-wise, I don't think it delivers as much as it could have. There's no disappointment in sight when talking about this. This came out in 2008. It's Odd and the Frost Giants. Boy plus old Viking gods. What's with Neil and gods? Whatever it is, don't stop. Because it's like there's three brothers. It's American gods, the eldest, Anansi's boys, and Odd. It's the perfect children's book. There's adventure, there's mythology, there's magic, talking animals, sense of humor, and a very sympathetic protagonist. The language with Neil Gaiman at times is so lovely, you feel like you've been charmed into the story, and that maybe his prose is distracting you from a plot that is not that special. I mean, this is what Interworld felt like to me. You don't need to be afraid of this element with Odd, because the plot is engaging, it has a smart pace, without being rushed. It's so utterly charming. I think if you buy this book for someone else, it's a genuine gift, whether it's Christmas or not. Lovely, although the Kindle edition doesn't have the smart cover the physical form has, it's The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly, came out in 2006. World War II, David has to adjust to the death of his mother and his father's remarriage. By the textbook, hole in the garden wall leading to a magical fairy tale world. Fairy tale-ish. Because there's werewolves, trolls, and evil crooked men. Well, actually, one man. It's a fantastic mix of fairy tale and horror. It's one of those tales that actually is supposed to frighten you a bit. Just like the Grimm's movie, fairy tales come together in one fast evolving adventure. If you have someone young you want to buy this book for, keep in mind this is probably going to give him nightmares. But as usual, when it comes to fairy tales, I think this is what fairy tales should do. Not shielding you from fear, but teaching you fear and how to deal with it. Beautiful book. Again, this was suggested to me on Formspring. The Map of Time. It came out in 2008. It's set in Victorian London, and it encloses a variety of characters spanning from Jack the Ripper to Herbert George Wells. And in the meantime, we catch up with Henry James and Bram Stoker. It's an intricate tale of time travel, real or imagined, and whenever time travel is involved, I'm happy with it. It's also about pain and loss, and it's actually two tales intertwining. The knots of the interweaving tales are sometimes symptoms of a story who's victim of its own cleverness. At least this is what I felt. It's very steampunk and extremely British, very enjoyable and engaging. Witty, and it's gonna make you break into a laugh here and there. Entertaining, maybe, if I have to point out a flaw, in need of a little editing. Other than that, it's a perfect story. Next is a book that should have been perfect, and to me it isn't, and it really pains me to say so. It's The House of Silk, came out this year. This is the first novel of Sherlock Holmes authorized by the Conan Doyle estate. It was bound to be good. It was supposed to be perfect, and probably you get kind of nervous when you have to deliver a book like this. Anthony Horowitz was actually chosen to write this book. He's the author of the Ilex Riders children's series. To be honest, he has probably achieved the most authentic Watsonian voice since the canon. The thing that is especially clear when reading this book to me is that there's so much passion and respect and tangible sensitivity towards the story and the readers alike. It's kind of moving. The problem is that you can feel it, so you know it's not Sir Arthur Conan Doyle writing it. If anything has to be pointed out as a flaw, once again, it's the clues. I think even the not schooled reader will notice them as too obvious. They alert the reader way too early. At times, the grammar is a bit elementary and there are a few spelling mistakes. I'm blaming this on the first edition, but still, it's something that bothers me so deeply I have to talk about it. I know I'm a pain. This one I really liked and I'm not sure why. Came out in 2009, it's Apocalypse for Beginners. And they're credited, both the author and the translator, because both of them did an amazing job, I think. It's the late 80s, and this is the quirky story of two teenagers. Hope, she comes from a family burdened with visions of doomsday, and Mikey, who's the fairly average boy who falls for her. It's an endearing modern-day romance. It has charm and quirk again. It puts a sly smirk on the 80s and their obsession over the threat of nuclear annihilation. The road you travel with this book is really, really long, geographically long. But when it finishes, you're not sure what's happened. Whatever it is, the prose is amazing. There are moments of sheer good writing, as it should be. I've been asked, what do I think of Joe Lansdale? I think Joe Lansdale is a joy to read, probably because of the busload of violence, profanity, and sex. And in a sentence like this, you probably start suspecting I'm rather disturbed. Probably I should feel compelled to make you change your mind, but I don't. Anyway, this is Sunset and Sawdust, came out in 2004. Starts with our main lady, Sunset, shooting her abusive husband and taking his place as a cop investigating the discovery of a dead baby's body. Hell, literally breaks loose in trying and solving the mystery. His writing is always deeply ironic. Strange and absurd come together in making the plot possible. He's also the author of the saga of Hap and Leonard. Again, busload of violence, as mentioned before. I think with Joe Lansdale, the point is talking about things that are essentially good, but irrevocably tainted by racism, ignorance, deprivation, and corruption. If you like Joe Lansdale, if you feel you might like him, I'd like to suggest Deranged by Choice, 214 on the Kindle store, gets together 1985 Boys Will Be Boys and 1992 the events concerning a nude fold-out found in a Harlequin romance. They're both extremely well plotted, funny and wise and sad and elegiac at the same time. All of it is always superbly written. I've been suggested this 1,000 times. I finally gave in. It's The Crimson Petal and the White. Came out in 2002. The title is from a poem by Lord Tennyson. It's entitled Now Sleeps the Crimson Petal, and the verse goes on to And Now the White. It's a period fiction. The painstaking attention to details, setting and characters sometimes may feel slightly too much, but if you really want to feel submerged by a setting, it works perfectly fine. It's gripping and emotive. The writing style is somewhat, to me at times it felt a bit self-indulgent, and the character's development maybe not as interesting as it might have been, as the first half of the book made me suspect, made me hope for. Also, to me, there were many loose ends in the end, which I think is the worst curse of a book. All in all, it's an enjoyable ride. Doesn't really take you where you were hoping to go. Oh, I'm almost done. Gonna talk about Jonathan Franzen now. The book I've recently read, it's obviously Freedom. It came out in 2010. Freedom follows several members of an American family, the Batlins, their friends, lovers and neighbors, as their complicated and complex relationships evolve through the years. The heart of it all, to me, is a very fascinating theme. The idea of exploring our freedom, or lack thereof, to know and be ourselves. I think Jonathan Franzen is amazingly perceptive when it comes to the motivation of the characters. And there's humour too. It's life-affirming and has some breathtakingly beautiful prose. To be fair, when compared to The Corrections, came out in 2001, The Corrections comes through as having a wider range. But to me, this is not necessarily a plus point. I mean, you can talk about 1,000 and talk about one. 1,000 is not necessarily better than one. When talking about The Corrections, the point of The Corrections, it revolves around the troubles of a Midwestern couple and their 3 adult children, spanning the last 40 years of the 20th century. It's about the decline of the tech-driven economic boom of the late 90s, and to call these characters, the characters of The Corrections, dysfunctional, would probably win me the euphemism of the year. And they are extremely unique, these characters. Considering I think this book is a hate it or love it, if you love it, no matter what, you'll find a way of relating and identifying with these characters. I think the problem, 10 years, more or less, between Corrections and Freedom. Corrections, to me, is flawed by the fact that he realized how good he is at writing. And there are points of the book where it feels like a stylistic exercise, like he's standing naked in the window, shouting to the literary world, look at me and look at how good I am, without necessarily much happening in the book. But it happens with amazing writing style. It is an intimate domestic drama, but the theme, where it's really easy to me and clear in Freedom and fascinating, as I said, this space of personal development and freedom that is explored there. The theme for The Corrections, to me, might be who we are, how we should/will become, who we are or should be, which sums up to all or nothing. And this probably depends on your mood and the eyes with which you're going to read this book. Again, I think it's a hate it, I love it. As you probably can tell, I've been at Forbidden Planet often lately. Well, recently I found this book, which I'm not really gonna talk about comprehensively, but still, it's the mythology of supernatural. There's a small print that says this book is not authorized or endorsed by anyone associated with the Supernatural TV show. At least it's honest and delivers what the title promises, the mythology of supernatural. If I may offer a piece of advice, don't expect anything life-changing from it. It's a funny read if you're a supernatural addict like myself. Rather unexpectedly, we're already done. If for some inexplicable reasons you'd like to hear me say almost the same things in Italian, I'll put the link of the Italian version of this same video down here in the doobly-doo. And as usual, I hope I haven't bored you to death. Hope that maybe I've given you a couple of Christmas suggestions. I don't think giving a book for Christmas is boring, nor is giving a tie. Really, there's no gift that can be boring if it's bought with a thoughtful heart and with this overload of insulin and goodwill. I'll stop blabbering and till the next one. Bye!